you for being here. Really, really appreciate everyone and your attention on this. I'm Congresswoman Maxine Dexter. I proudly represent Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. Just returned from El Salvador, literally off the plane. And I'm making a statement here because our community right here in Oregon demanded action. Oregonians are scared. They're scared that due process is being dismantled, that the Constitution is being discarded, and that we're sliding toward authoritarianism. While in El Salvador, I met with human rights groups, the U.S. Ambassador to El Salvador, William Duncan, to the attorneys for the family of Abrego Garcia, as well as others being detained. We also met remotely with his family, and everyone in our group, the 4 of us, representatives Ansari, Frost, and Garcia, raised concerns for their health and their safety. While there, we sent official letters demanding proof of life, access to counsel, and demanding their safe return. We tried to see Kilmar. We requested that through the embassy ahead of time. I was denied access, as were all members of the delegation. That refusal only further deepens our concerns for his and all being detained safety. Let's be clear. This isn't about 2 men or 4 men or any number of people. This is about Donald Trump's refusal to abide by a Supreme Court directive. He's kidnapping legal residents, and he's shredding the rule of law. What happened to these people is a nightmare. And it is not just this family's nightmare. It's a constitutional crisis. And this must concern, if not outrage, each and every one of us. I am not going to stay silent. I refuse to be fearful of being loud, because legislation, public pressure, and litigation are the tools that we have to uphold the law. And when one man's rights are stripped, every single Oregonian's rights are at risk. That is why I went to El Salvador, to make sure that we stand up for American values and the rule of law, and it's why I will continue to stand up for the rule of law. I welcome your questions. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Because did you go to where he's being held and were denied access, like specifically on the site? Can you just give us some more detail about where you went?
Yeah, so when we arrived, we went immediately to where we were all staying. The next morning, we got there late at night. Sorry for whoever's microphone that is. We got there late at night. So the next morning, we met with the embassy, we met with the family, we met with attorneys. Later in the day, we met with the human rights activists who have been on the ground in El Salvador for over 3 years during the Bukele dictatorship. And when we went to the embassy, that was the only time, honestly, that we were out of the hotel, because we were waiting to find out if we could go to CCOT or one of the other institutions or detention facilities. We don't know where Abrego Garcia is, so we couldn't go to where he is. We know he's no longer at CCOT. He was in one detention facility previously. We don't know. There's been no contact with him by his attorneys or his family since Senator Van Hollen saw him last Thursday. His family is deeply concerned about his health and safety. These are not safe institutions, and in fact, we heard that CCOT is the safest prison in El Salvador. So being in other places, maybe it's a different kind of facility, but if it's in a detention facility, it could be extremely dangerous for any of these individuals.
And there's no reason to testify?
No. And honestly, I think the embassy had quite little information. Everything we did went through the embassy because we wanted to follow a proper diplomatic channels.
They didn't offer the president officials?
No, and we could have, just as Senator Van Hollen did, go to a facility, but we weren't sure which facility he was at, so that was a little challenging. Yes?
What happens next, I guess?
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, the whole point, honestly, we weren't convinced we would be able to meet with Abrego Garcia. The point was to continue to raise the question about why the Trump administration is not taking action to facilitate his return in accordance with the Supreme Court ruling. We want to keep this in the press cycle. We want to keep it in the public eye. We want people to understand the crisis that literally is right here, right now. So for us to go, we know we will not be the last congressional members to go, and we hope that is the case, because this is a red line in the sand that America is stepping over into the no rule of law. And this should be a concern for each and every one of us. So honestly, the point was made. We had excellent coverage. People are asking questions, and that is the point.
So his attorneys don't know where he is currently?
No. And we spoke with Andre Romero's attorney. We spoke with other members of the community. There is no access to counsel that is facilitated in El Salvador. When they go to these prisons, they are detained and they are disappeared. There's no access for family or attorneys to these detention facilities to meet with the people in prison in the way that we would expect in the United States. There is no such right in El Salvador.
What did his family tell you when you spoke with him?
They are extremely concerned about his health. Number one, they want to know he's still alive. Number two, he has multiple mental and physical illnesses and issues that he struggles with chronically that they are concerned can flare and be very critical for him to get care for at any time. Obviously, they want him home. They are under tremendous strain, having constant attention on this, and he was taken out of a car with his 5-year-old son in the car and was whisked away, having done nothing wrong with legal resident. He was protected in the United States because they knew El Salvador was dangerous to send him back to, and we have sent him back to a place where the government, the courts had previously decided it was too unsafe to send him. And that is fundamentally what he and his brother fled El Salvador because of gang violence, and now he is there with no protection.
Representative Evan Watson with KGW. The primary pushback to this situation, including from the Trump administration itself, is to point to Abrego Garcia's previous arrest and alleged MS-13 gang involvement. What would be your response to that?
Yeah, the first thing is that this is not just about Abrego Garcia or Andre Romero or any other person who found themselves on that plane to El Salvador. It is about the line that has been crossed, that we took people out of the United States who have constitutional protection to due process and removed that, and now we say we don't have jurisdiction because they're in another country. We are disappearing people. So that is ultimately the first thing. I think anything else is a distraction. It is not about his innocence, or I cannot vouch for that. I have reason to believe that this is fabricated and not true based on conversations, but I'm not here to vouch for that. I am here to vouch for every American citizen's right, as well as anyone within our borders' right to due process. Yes?
What's your understanding, if you learned anything more about the financials, the idea that the U.S. government is paying El Salvador to house?
Super helpful, right?
Did you learn anything more about sort of the government's role in paying the government of El Salvador to do this?
Yeah, that has clearly been part of the conversation. That my understanding is there's a contract for $15 million to hold these folks, and $4 million of that has been paid. That is from reports. I don't know that to be true. We have asked to see the contract. Congress has the power of the purse. We also want to know who's paying for this. The United States government ostensibly is in a contract. That means taxpayer dollars are being used that were not appropriated by Congress. So how is that money being given? We would like to understand that.
When did you personally decide that you were going to take this trip?
Yeah, it was around the time It was in process for about 3 days, honestly, prior to us deciding to go. And even up until the last minute, it wasn't clear whether or not we were going to be able to go. We wanted to connect with Senator Van Hollen and make sure that there was reason to think it would be helpful, connecting with the family's attorney to make sure they felt it would be helpful. He actually flew with us from LA to El Salvador to make sure that we were able to get access to the family and some of the other groups who have been doing the work on the ground. So bringing that together in a short period of time, it was really a last minute finalization that we were going, which is part of the reason why there was no warning.
Yeah, do you think you made some sort of difference?
I absolutely think so. I haven't had any reason to doubt people's interest in the story itself. What I have reason to doubt is people's understanding of the implications of this case. If the Supreme Court is ignored and Donald Trump just overtly says that he doesn't need to follow a Supreme Court ruling, then we are now consolidating power and we have lost our ability to have the checks and balances that this country is dependent on. And it truly is a slippery slope. So raising that, having the ability to say that over and over again, getting coverage, I think is critical to this moment, and I hope my colleagues will continue in this regard going. Yeah.
One more thing, is there any sort of coordinated effort among Democrats, congressional Democrats to do, it sounds like the idea is more people will go in the future. What's sort of like the group consensus on building momentum behind this thing? And if it is about due process.
Yeah, it's absolutely about due process and the rule of law. I know that there are already groups that are discussing going, so I have every reason to believe there are more that will be going soon. I also, the Democratic caucus is not a monolith. We can do two things at once and more than two things at once. We have tariff issues and economic downturn that absolutely needs focus. I think it's fine for us not all to be on the same message all the time. There are far too many things for us all to be concerned about right now. This is something that I absolutely think is a critical issue to elevate, and it is a priority for me, not just because it's me personally, but my constituents have been clear. It was the number one reason that people called last week asking me to go to El Salvador. It is absolutely overwhelmingly supported in the last 24 hours. Over 2/3, it's actually over 3/4 of people calling from the district are supportive that I went. People are concerned, and other elected leaders in our district have reached out because constituents are worried. People are scared that they could be disappeared any day. And I don't say that as hyperbole. It's literally what's happened. We don't know the names of many of the Venezuelans who were detained and what their due process access is. So this is an issue that my constituents care about, and that's why I went, and it's why I'm prioritizing it.
How do you feel about the silence across the hall with the Republicans? Because that's nothing to be said. They're all just going along with it.
I do believe in my heart that the vast majority of people who run for office want to do good by their communities. I think as a group, Lisa Murkowski spoke to this. There's fear. People are shamed for speaking out. We know that the vitriol that's coming at me for going from outside of my district is you have to be ready to handle that. There is extraordinary and really destructive, negative messaging that's happening right now. We are othering each other. We are absolutely falling into an authoritarian playbook where we see it fit to just pick up somebody and take them away because of allegations that they're a gang member or that maybe that they've done something bad to their partner at some point in their life. None of this has been proven. If we're willing to let Donald Trump be the decider, that is a dangerous precedent for us. And I believe that a number of my colleagues on the Republican side have that belief in their heart. My admonition to them is to step up and find their courage before it's too late.
Just a matter of time.
I think that's right. We are on the beginning of a very dangerous path. And I believe that people are starting to see that, it's trips like this that I hope will help people understand it more. And honestly, you as the fourth branch of government are absolutely critical in this, in maintaining your autonomy. Yes.
Can you speak to what I imagine is a big delta between what you thought you'd be doing as a congressperson and the trip you've just come back from? I don't imagine when you ran, you thought you'd be looking for disappeared.
No. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I ran for office because I wanted an economy that worked for everyone, healthcare that everyone had access to, that was accessible and high quality, an environment that we could raise our children in, that they had reason to believe would be healthy for the future. Those still are the things that I would absolutely be delighted to work on. But right now, our democracy is sick. And I'm a physician, and I am willing to step in when someone is sick, because that is my training, that is my discipline. And when I see that our democracy is sick right now, I don't feel it is okay for me to stand back and wait for someone else to take charge. And so my constituents are reinforcing that. It is my nature to want to jump in when something is going wrong. And I am not going into this haphazardly. Like, I think this is a critical issue. I'm not chasing shiny things. This is a fundamental issue that we need to all be concerned about. So no, it's not why I ran for office, but it's absolutely my privilege to have my constituents give me this power to be able to use my position that they've given me to go to El Salvador. The attorney that we were with was like, he said, you are unarrestable. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but certainly I have more protection than most people.
How do you plan to continue staying engaged on this issue?
We are absolutely discussing this amongst our colleagues. I am a member of the Progressive Caucus. I have every reason to believe that this will be something that we'll be talking about. Personally, I think focusing on it yourself can elevate it for others, and that is the only thing I can take accountability for, is that it will not be something that is here today, gone tomorrow for me. Okay, last question.
Given, I guess, some of the tepidness that maybe we experience from agencies now, the chilling effect from administration, did you get any of that in the embassy in El Salvador? Is there any sort of sense that people were walking on eggshells so as not to give you more ire or more concern?
Ambassador Duncan is a career diplomat. He was extraordinarily professional, forthcoming. I found it to be a very productive meeting. He gave us insight into this, history in El Salvador and the ways that we've come to where we are now. He works for the State Department, so ultimately what he can do is via the state. So we sent our letters of request for information and proof of life and checking in to Secretary Rubio, and he is the person who really is ultimately in charge of the State Department, and I felt nothing but partnership with the embassy in El Salvador.
But Rubio did not offer any proof of life.
I know it, we have not gotten an answer to the letters that we've sent. Those were sent from 2 other offices, so it's possible there's been an answer today, and I've been en route, so I don't know.
And you didn't meet with any officials from El Salvador?
No, and that wasn't our intention. To be really clear, the issue is with the Trump administration, not with the El Salvadoran government. They are under contract with our government. That is, our government is who has to take action to facilitate his release. That's been clear. Whether or not there's jurisdiction is something that we saw play out in the Oval Office last week. I find that concerning, but we absolutely are focused on the Trump administration's responsibility to take action. Okay, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.